You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, or watching on YouTube, where you can also subscribe. Ryan, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's a special day. We have a special surprise for you at the end of the show in the outro, and I think you'll think of it as a nice surprise.
It will be a nice surprise, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
it's something that hasn't happened in over a year.
Oh, nigh upon, yeah. A year.
Yeah. We've got a great guest today talk about mental health. Talk about a guy who lets it all out, puts it all out there on the table and says, this is me. This is what happened. This is who I am. This is what I think of everything. And man, it blew me away. And David Harewood just knocked me off my socks with some of his stories and his honesty. And I really, really appreciated him to come on and be divulge so much. Before we get into that, letting you know that my band Sunspin has a concert and it's coming up very soon. It is this coming Saturday, May 29th, 2 p.m., 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can get tickets if you just go to sunspin.com. They could redirect you there. You could also get merch. You can you could book me for a Zoom, or you book us for the band for a Zoom, and you could book the band if you want. People have done that. We've played at an outdoor place and it's been fun. Did you just burp?
I did.
Oh, thank you. That's that
I can't hide this stuff anymore.
That validates my band, Sunspin. You could also follow us at Sunspin Band on all social media, which would be really, really nice. And on Spotify, follow us, please. We're now on Spotify and trying to get those listeners up. And I think you'll enjoy the band, the album, Sunspin, called Best Days. Inside of You online store is open. We've got Lex Luthor stuff, Smallville lunchboxes left. We've got hats and shirts and mugs and tumblers and just all sorts of fun stuff. So you might want to go there. And if you want to follow the podcast, you could do that, Ryan.
At Inside of You Pod on Twitter, at Inside of You Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. There's a dog.
Blanche just walked in. Out.
No.
Please get the hell out. I love you. Get the hell out. Thank you. You already had your walk. She just comes in here like, what's going on? Please subscribe. I always say this, but it really helps the show when you subscribe, you tell others. And if you're enjoying yourself and you like the podcast, you want it to continue, I would ask you to just get other people to listen and subscribe. Sure. Guys, I love you. Thank you to all my patrons. I'd love you to join patreon.com/inside of you. Join the family. I will send you a message right after you join. It helps the podcast on the side. You get the little perks. There's tiers. Check it out, patreon.com/inside of you. And Patreon's a good time. So I hope you join the family. And I'm still trying to have Camp Rosie. That's going to probably happen next year. And if you're a patron, you'll be invited first. There are guidelines, and things like that, but it will be a lot of fun. Trying to have as much fun in my life as I can. Trying to enjoy things more. Trying to enjoy. You know what? Hey, I'm really today. I feel positive. I feel I'm happy. I'm proud of myself for sticking with this podcast. I'm proud of you guys, or thankful more for being grateful for you guys for sticking with me. I'm always talking about how I want to grow the audience and all that, but at the end of the day, I still love doing it. I still love everyone. Big shout out to Cumulus and to Ryan, my editor engineer, and to Bryce, who tries to make these, or does make these shows even better by tightening them up and giving you something pleasant to listen to, I hope. Great podcast with Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Patrick. People are talking about that. Charisma Carpenter from last week. People are loving that. A lot of stuff went viral if you haven't listened to it. Erica Christensen from Parenthood and Traffic. We try to get into it, and today we're going to get into it. So without further ado, from the show Supergirl, he's been in tons of stuff. He has a fascinating, fascinating story. So brace yourself. Let's get inside of David Harewood. It's my point of view. You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was not recorded in front of a live studio audience. Since you're filming, do you have to get COVID tests constantly?
3 times a week, dude.
And how much do you hate it on a scale from 1 to hate?
It's necessary, and actually, we feel. To be honest with you, I feel safer on set than I do offset, because at least I know on set everyone's tested and everyone's playing by the rules. Whereas in real life, you don't know who's doing what. So I feel quite safe. I feel quite safe on set, and they've gone some way to making us feel very safe with each other.
Well, I've talked to a lot of actors, and I hear all the stuff because I've chosen not to act during this time, and I hear on set it's you're wearing masks. Sometimes they have these little devices you have to put on to rehearse, these certain masks, these like plexiglass things. It just feels like it's when you're on set, you want to be comfortable. You're already in your head. You want to be great. You want to do your job, and now you got all this other shit around you. It feels like it's a pain in the ass, and it takes time to at least get used to. How long have you been doing it like this?
Oh, since the beginning. It's tough, man. It's tough. As I say, it's not a great way to go out. This is our last season. So we're all. I mean, I still don't know what half the makeup girls look like. It's like everyone's got this mask on. So we're all sort of shrouded in fucking gel and masking and PPE, and it does occasionally get annoying and grating, but it's listen, if it's keeping everybody safe, let's do it.
Are there some actors that you're working with? You don't have to give me names, but it's just like while you're doing it, they're just they can't deal. Some deal with it better than others, but some are like, "Fuck, come on! I fucking got this fucking mask on," and they just.
No, everyone's really getting into it. Everyone's really pitching in because the very first lockdown, that was the first time in 9 years that I stopped working.
Wow.
And it was great. It was great, and it was nice to be to suddenly find that you could had been told to stop, and it was very refreshing. I have to say, very refreshing. But towards the end of it, I started to get the heebie-jeebies. I wanted to get back to it.
Yeah.
I feel very lucky that some of my friends haven't worked a day since the whole thing started. So I feel very lucky that I'm working, and very fortunate that I'm working. And it's a fucking pandemic, and so many people have lost their jobs.
Yeah,
have got no money and are really struggling. So I guess I feel very grateful that I've had the opportunity to work, and even more grateful that everybody on set is pitching in and getting on with it.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're someone who has to work? Like I know a lot of my friends who, if they're not working, they go insane. I think I go a little insane. Do you feel like the anxiety creeps in, all these other these outside factors, you get inside your head if you're not working?
Maybe back in the day, but that was to do with just trying to keep a roof over the head. When you're skinned and you're just jobbing, going from job to job, and opportunities are rare, and it can get very frustrating, and you just want to be, not just want to be working, you want to be. I can remember a couple of weeks before I got Homeland, just staring up at the fucking ceiling. The two kids in the other bedroom. I couldn't pay the rent. I couldn't pay the mortgage. I was broke, and so it was a case of, I've got to work. I've got to get out there and find a gig, and maybe I need to go and drive a bus or something. Because you've got to make some money. And fortunately, those days seem to be behind me. But I'm not like I don't always have a Jones for work. I mean, I'm really looking forward to getting to the end of this current gig and kind of reassessing and saying no. I haven't been in a position to say no to work for years or ever. So it's going to be nice to sit back and choose the direction I want to go next, as opposed to having to jump on something just because I need to pay the mortgage.
Yeah, it seems like there'd be a lot more stress too, not only when you're trying to support two kids and put a roof over your head, but at the same time you're on set and you just have a new job and this is it. You're like, oh my God, this means so much more than a lot of people when they're working, and they take it for granted. People take it for granted, but it just seems like the pressure to be great, to be good, to keep your job would be more intense. Did you feel like that in the first go at it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd never done an American accent before, so there was a huge pressure on me to. I had 16 days from getting the gig to starting the gig, so there was pressure on me to learn the accent, and you're working opposite great actors, Mandy Patinkin, Claire Danes, and I'd been out of work for 9 months, and so it took some sort of it took a leap of sort of mental faith and sort of belief in yourself to get there and go, you know what, I'm going to put all that shit out of my head. I'm just going to turn up on the day and try and be the best that I can be. But it was nerve-wracking. But, you try and put all that stuff out of your head.
Well, it just seems like fear is something that I know as an actor you get right away when you get the job and someone's like, you're hired, and then all of a sudden, can I do it? Can I, all these, and you're like, what are you talking about? You've been doing this. You've done this your whole life. How do you, and then that fear, it's overwhelming. And then the more you work on it, the more you start to do things, that starts to dissipate or whatever.
Absolutely. And, you're never going to not have that fear. You always, I think most actors, the first day for most actors is always a little bit nerve-wracking.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you're in a new company, dealing with expectations. I've known actors be fired after the read-through, to get the job and then be fired after the read-through, or get the job and be fired after a couple of days. It's so, you never feel 100%. You can't feel 100% safe.
Right.
So I think, going in and just giving it your best. If you give it your best, and it doesn't work out, you've got to just take your hats off to that. And, I've been close to that in a couple of once or twice. But you can only do your best now. If I turn up and my best isn't good enough, it's not good enough.
I know. I say that. See, I say that, David. I say, you know what? Fuck them. Do your shit. Do what you do. And if it all falls apart, and then it falls apart, and you're like, where's the tough guy now? Huh? Where's the tough guy? And I haven't been fired a lot, but I've been fired before where I sat there and I hung up the phone. The producer calls me and he was in tears because he was like, this is a shock. We already shot the thing. And I remember he says, like, I just want to get to it, but this is the way it is. And I said, hey, listen, let's not make this weird. I love you. I love working with you. Let's just, hey, we'll keep in touch, man. I appreciate the job. And I hung up, and it was one of those moments where I'm numb. You're numb and you look at the ceiling and you see the one spot of black or whatever it is on the ceiling, and you just stare at it. And then I took a deep breath and I go, my dog came up to me and I go, oh, but look, I have this dog and I have a roof over my head and I'm not dead. And I started to say these gratitudes, which kind of helped, even though I half believed them, half didn't. But I've been in that position where you're like, okay, and you're almost embarrassed. I think you are. I think part of it's embarrassment. Like, everybody's going to know I got fired. No one's going to hire me. And it's a very difficult kind of thing. You could easily spiral downward, but I didn't.
Without a doubt. And that's why it's important to, I'm sure your dog pulled you out of it, but it's important to have, to have that strength of mind. I think, I say, I did a documentary a couple of years ago on failure in the acting industry. And it's really interesting how at first nobody wanted to talk to me. At first everybody was like, well, fuck, I'm not touching that. I don't want to touch failure. But, once I started kind of opening up the subject and talking about difficult times they've had in their careers, or a bad review, a series of bad reviews, a bad word, you start to understand it's just another part of the business that you have to navigate. That, you can be on the highs. The highs are great. Fucking highs are great. Getting work, money, all that's great. But the lows are hard. And sometimes the lows, I think you learn more in the lows than you do in the highs. It's in the lows when you sit there and go, let me think about this. I mean, how am I doing today? You really have to work on yourself and really kind of get in touch with something that I think will teach you resilience. You'll learn resilience. You don't learn anything from success. You just bob along when everything's going well. Yeah, it's great. It's only when you hit a hard time that you go, let me ask me. You start asking yourself questions. Start thinking, am I tough enough to get through this? Am I resilient enough to get through this? Can I can I push through this difficult time? And I've had difficult times, and right now things are great. But if I hadn't have had those tough times, I don't think I'd appreciate the times where I am now. So I see those dark days as a part of the business, and to be embraced just as much as the successful moments.
And when you think about it, especially nowadays with Twitter, and everybody's just on to the next thing. That failure, what is it really? You do something, you're on Twitter for maybe a minute, and then you're gone. And I start to say to myself, Michael, no one gives a shit about you, really. No one gives a shit. Just fucking do it. And if you fail, somebody's going to go, oh my God, he fell. Oh, next thing. Oh, look at this. This guy fell on his head. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's just, what's the word? It's ephemeral. It's short-lived. And that gives me comfort in a way, knowing that I'm not that fucking important.
That's it's not that important. It really isn't. It's, people dying of cancer and COVID, I mean, there's real stuff going on in the world. Yeah. And, I think you got to keep a handle on, allowing things to spiral out of control, I think.
Did you always want to be an actor?
No, I mean, I was a bit of a clown at school, a bit of a fucking idiot. I wasn't very academic. I just didn't find it interesting. And I do now, which is weird, but, I don't think then I was developed enough to really understand the finer points of geography and sociology. I was like, how am I going to apply? How am I going to apply any of this to my life? It all seems like nonsense. So I couldn't really ever tune into it. So I was messing around and back of class, and I was always up for a school play, always up for messing, always up for jumping in school plays and stuff. And at the end of my school, I was about 5 weeks away from leaving school, and a teacher called me at home and said, come into the school, we'd like to talk to you. So I went in and didn't know what he was going to say. And he said, what are you going to do when you leave school here? And I said, I don't know, shrug my shoulders. And he just said, well, we've been talking in the staff room, and we all think you should be an actor. Fucking light bulb went on in my head. I just went, fuck, of course. It sounds like a great idea. Not knowing how you did it, how you became one. It just seemed to fit my sort of worldview. And I sort of spent the next 2-3 years auditioning, went to the National Youth Theatre. I was told at the National Youth Theatre, I was invited back to the National Youth Theatre the following year, and they said I should go to drama school. So I auditioned for a load of drama schools and got into RADA, which is one of the best drama schools in the fucking world. And I had no idea that was going to, it was all a fluke because I actually cancelled my RADA audition because I got in somewhere else, not knowing anything about drama schools. I wrote off to a whole load of drama schools, rejected from the first 3, and went to the next one and was accepted, and just cancelled all the remaining auditions, which happened to be the remaining ones were the top 5 drama schools in the country. And for some bizarre reason, the RADA letter never arrived. My cancellation letter never arrived. So they phoned me up the day after I was supposedly supposed to be there and asked me why I didn't turn up. And I just bold-faced lied. I said, told them my mother was ill. And they said, well, it's your lucky day because somebody's dropped out on Friday, which was the next following day. He said, would you like another shot? I went, yeah, sure. I just went down without a care in the world, didn't give a fuck. And I got in. And I cancelled the crap place, which and ended up going to RADA.
Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts you got into almost as an accident. Now,
yeah.
I mean, do you think if those people didn't call you in high school and say, look, David, we think you never would have done it?
No. I get it. And this is a I touch upon this, and I've just written my first book, and I touch upon this in that this sense of value that that I struggled with. I have in Britain as a young black kid, there weren't any black people on television. There was very few depictions of black success, on British television. So as a working class first generation immigrant child, my expectations of what I could do were really quite basic. I thought it was probably a factory or an assembly line, or I didn't even think it was possible for me to be an actor. So, I just had so if they hadn't have suggested it, I certainly wouldn't have tried to do it. I just would have thought that stuff was off limits to me. And it took me a while to settle into that, into the profession, into the kind of mold. But that sense of value, I've been battling with it for years. America's given me a load of it. It's given me a load of that acknowledgement. Homeland, come on in. Supergirl, come on in. Do you want to direct the show? Direct the show. You want a movie? Here's a movie. And I've never had any of that in England. Never had any of it. So it was it's my sense of value. I think I found my sense of value in America. So it's going to be interesting to go back to England, which is really not given me very much, to see if I can maintain this sense of self-worth, because it's a battle in England. It's a battle.
Do you feel like there's more racism there? Did you feel like growing up that it was just like you could just feel it? You felt like, they're looking at me differently there. Did you feel it there?
Well, I mean, this is an interesting conversation to be having with an American, because, American, it's an admitted fact in America. Racism is an admitted fact in America.
Yeah.
You talk about it, openly talked about. It's a fact of life. You deal with it. Whereas in England, apparently there was a report literally just released this morning, which apparently says institutional racism doesn't exist. Racism, it doesn't exist. Britain is a beacon of diversity around the world, and we should look for other reasons as to why a disproportionate number of people of colour are still at the bottom end of the socio-economic ladder. I mean, it's the ultimate gaslighting that Britain is involved with right now. To say that, besides this whole thing with, not that I'm a royalist at all, but this whole thing with Meghan and Harry and all this stuff, the following day after that interview, when Oprah's interview went out, fucking Britain was shaking. Us? Racist? Right. We're not racist. It's your fault. How dare you say we're racist? In England, to accuse somebody of racism, to point out racism in England, is to accuse somebody of being, is to leave yourself open to accusations of being called a racist. So you can't even have the discussion in Britain because it's denied, it's ignored, it's disparaged. So I can't even have that conversation. So all this, it's a very peculiar mindset that we find ourselves in Britain, and that ties into and I'm not surprised as to why so many. I did a documentary a couple of years ago about mental health, and Black Britons are 10 times more likely to suffer from mental health conditions, 4 times more likely to be sectioned under the Mental Health Act, and it's no surprise because you're being gaslit the whole time by people who tell you that your life experience, your lived experience, actually doesn't matter or is a figment of your imagination. So it's a tough one. In England, wow. It's a really tough one there.
Inside of You is brought to you by Geico. Geico, Ryan, you rent your home, you do it. It's probably the most difficult thing for people to do is rent their home, mortgage, pay their mortgage. And they got this auto policy. They got these things. It's difficult. It's difficult to pay. You got to pay one person over here. You got to do another person over here. So the thing to do is Geico has a bundling policy. You can just pay for all of it. It's easy. You know what I mean? Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing because we got so much going on, so much to do around the home. Just do me a favor. Go to geico.com. Get a quote. See how you could save, how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. Even a Rosenbaum can do it. Inside of You is brought to you by NHTSA. In 2019, nearly 10,000 people were unbuckled when they were killed in crashes. That's 43% of people killed in motor vehicle crashes that were not wearing seatbelts. You know, Ryan, it's always the same thing. I'm not going very far. I'm in a rush. What are you in a rush about? This is your life. And it's uncomfortable. Sometimes I just forget. Don't kid yourself. There's no such thing as an excuse for not buckling up. If you used any of these excuses or any others, you're putting yourself at risk or injury or death. You're not only putting yourself, I always say to my friends, you know what? You're putting other people at risk. That's what I'm concerned about. No matter what kind of vehicle you drive, wearing your seatbelt is the best defense in a crash. Even when you sit in the back seat, you still need to buckle up. Come on. That goes for you when you're riding taxis, you use ride-sharing services too. Why do people feel like, oh, I'm indestructible. I'm in the back of an Uber. I'm safe. You're not safe. Wear your seatbelt. Law enforcement are on the lookout, writing tickets. So why take the risk? Seatbelts save lives. Do the smart thing and buckle up every trip, day or night. Please click it or ticket. Paid for by NHTSA. Inside of You is brought to you by my good friends at Untuck It. I freaking love this product. I am a ambassador. I want to be the ambassador for Untuck It because I love these shirts. I'm wearing one now.
You look great.
Right? Look at that. It's such a good fit. And, you know, the great thing is Untuck It makes shirts designed to be worn untucked. I don't know how many times I've worn these shirts and people are like, hey, Rosie, nice dress. I'm like, oh, thank you. What? Your shirt's really long, dude. All these other shirts, these dress shirts or, you know, these short sleeve button downs, they're never designed to just feel free and walk around. They're designed to tuck in. These aren't. They have fits for all shapes and sizes. Untuck It offers up to triple XL. Plus, they have slim, relaxed, and tall fits. Untuck It has 85 stores nationwide, free returns and exchanges. You know, the short sleeve shirt button downs, I just bought 4 extra ones. I didn't even get the discount for it. I just wanted them, and I wanted them now, and I love them so much. And I'll be wearing them throughout this, throughout doing these podcasts. I really love these guys. Untuck It shirts are perfect as we transition back into the things that we've been missing, like the dinner with friends, the reuniting with family, vacations. You put a few Untuck It shirts in there, and the ladies or the gents are going to dig you. They're going to like you. I really like this. It's this easy, guys. Use code INSIDE for 20% off your first purchase at untuckit.com. Just go to untuckit.com and type in the code INSIDE for 20% off. I mean, look at this shirt. Need I say more? Do you ever go back to your old teachers who brought you in that day? I always feel like there's a certain amount of people who believe in you while you're growing up that help you in your career, whatever Absolutely. It is. There's like, I could pick, there's like a handful that they believed in me, that kept bringing me back. Did you ever go see them?
Oh yeah. I mean, I went to see, I actually did a documentary with the very teacher who told me to be an actor. I did a documentary back at my old school, where he used to teach me, and the producers at one point sent him in the room as I was teaching these students about acting. They sent him in the room to sort of surprise me, and it was quite emotional because literally everything that all the clothes, the roof over my head has all come from acting, and I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for that one man.
What was his name?
Mr. Reader, Eric Reader, and I've thanked him a million times. Quoted him a million times, and he literally redirected my entire life. So,
did you cry? Did you cry when you saw him?
I did. I choked up a little bit. I've got to be honest with you. Yeah, it's. I kind of always do because I kind of think if it wasn't for him, I don't know what I'd be doing now. I'd probably be I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd probably be. It doesn't even bear thinking about, because there really aren't that many opportunities to get out. Acting is a great way of getting out, and I've been successful at it. And I've been very lucky, with what it's given me. But short of that, I don't know where would I have succeeded? How would I have traveled? How would I have seen the world? How would I have experienced life? It's kind of frightening to think about it, really.
Do you think, were you ever, like, I was one of those guys who was just uncomfortable with who I was. I didn't know who I was. I didn't have a lot of confidence. I didn't hear "I love you" from my dad. I didn't hear "you're good." I didn't hear any of that shit. So when I started acting, it was the first time people noticed me. So I felt like, oh, as long as I don't have to be me, I'm good. So being these characters, being in shows, getting this acknowledgement, that's what saved me ultimately. And also has slowly destroyed me in a lot of ways, because that's the only way I know what success is. I'm like, oh, happiness is having someone tell you you're great. Oh, that feels good. But then it goes away, right? It goes away. So it's not sustained.
I can remember, doing theatre for a while, and having some success in theatre, and then getting on the television, and making money and being on the TV every couple of nights, and the girls are looking at you, and all you can get into the clubs, and suddenly people are buying you a drink, and it's great for a while. Get laid a couple of times, and, but then it very quickly lost its luster to me. It very quickly got dull and boring, and I'm glad I went through it as a lived experience, but there's all that recognition stuff, and this desire for some kind of acceptance or acknowledgement. It wasn't about that for me. It very, very quickly wasn't about that for me. It was I love doing what I do. I love telling stories, and I love acting. But it's not something I do for acknowledgement anymore. I think I used to, but I do it. And then there's been times when I've just done it for the money. But now I'm really trying to do it because I want to do it because I really enjoy the art form, and I really enjoy working with specific people, and I want to get a specific thing out of a specific role. So it's no longer about the acknowledgement from the outside, I think, for me.
That's a healthy attitude, and that takes some time.
It's taken me 30 years. It's taken me 30 years. And I've just written this book, as I said, where I've sort of, because I had a breakdown, a psychotic breakdown when I came out of drama school, 2 years out of drama school, spent 2 weeks in a mental institution. And it was tough. I lost my mind. And I kind of recovered from that, sort of got better, put it in a box, buried it for 30 years. And a couple of years ago, did a documentary where I retraced my steps to find out what the fuck that was all about, which was really scary and it was a very scary time, because as I said, I buried it so deep, I didn't think I'd ever find it. But throughout doing this documentary, it was suddenly right there. The pain of why I'd gone crazy, and it's just the reality of having a breakdown, really came home.
And that was the My Psychosis and Me on the BBC. Was that
me? Yeah, it was really tough. The toughest thing I've ever done. But I was given my medical records during a sequence of filming, and I couldn't look at it. I looked at it once, and it terrified me. And it's a record of all the things I said as I was crazy, and it's really tough to read. And I put it in an envelope, and I put it on the shelf at the back there, and I didn't look at it for 2 years. And when I started to write this book, I knew I had to look at it. So I spent 6 months with it, looking at it, reading it. And it was scary. But now that I've sat with it, now that I've been with that pain and been with all that all the stuff that sent me crazy, it's actually made me stronger. I feel better. I feel like I got in touch with the things that really made me vulnerable, the things that really made me that tipped me over the edge. I've sort of deciphered the things that I'm saying, sort of almost like how you can interpret a dream. But I think I've sort of interpreted the things I'm saying, and it's been a really interesting journey to uncover your deepest, darkest secrets, and to look at your crazy self, and sort of come to terms with it, and kind of hold it, and not be afraid of it anymore. And I feel as though it's been a really healing process for me. And now there's not really that much that terrifies me or frightens me, or I feel very in possession of myself for the first time in many, many, many years, and I can be really honest with myself. So, and I don't think I could be before. So I feel pretty good about. I've been pretty good about where I am and the work that I've been doing on self. I still see a therapist that I speak to every week, and that's been really helpful, really, really helpful, and it keeps me in touch with the work on self. And this can be very isolating. You know what it's like when you're working away. You're in a hotel room, or you're in an apartment somewhere, and it's even more crazy in COVID because we've kind of subtly been asked not to go out, or subtly been asked not to go to a bar or go to a restaurant because you could catch COVID.
Right.
So we're all sort of going to work and coming home, go to work, come home, go to work, come home, and that's it. That's been it for like 5 months, and it's been mind-numbingly tough.
Yeah.
But the book, I sat here and I spent my time writing the book, and it's been I think this whole period has been very helpful for me to kind of get in touch with something which is a bit deeper.
Well, you're incredibly brave, and I say that with the utmost respect because, I talk a lot about anxiety, depression, therapy, and things like that. It's kind of something that just comes up a lot of times. I had the guy, Stephen Amell, who's a friend of mine from Arrow, had an anxiety attack on the show, and he said, record it, keep it going, air it. This is important. And that's brave. And I look at what you've done and what you're doing. And a lot of people would say, thank God now it's starting to open up a little where people are talking about therapy. They're talking about it used to be where no one talked about it. And I came from a household where my dad wouldn't even go near it. He easily could say the word crazy or this, but, and he has his own things, his own issues. But I look at you as somebody who opens up and says, this is my life. This is what happened. This is what I overcame, what I faced. And it's just huge. I mean, and I think about when you said you had that break and you went to a mental institution. And the first thing that came to mind was, well, what caused that break? Is it partly genetic? Is it something you were going through? You're not yourself. You couldn't, what happened to get you to that point?
A mixture of things. It was partly was genetic. My father had a breakdown, so I guess it should have put me on high alert. And I've learned so much, through the investigation of trying to understand what psychosis is. But yes, my father had a bout of hypertension, and I have written, as I say, I have learned that it can be genetic. It can pass from through the family, but also first generation immigrants, being in a city can cause it. Adolescence can cause it. Training. Through this, I've been staggered. I have to say, buddy, staggered by the number of young actors who have had breakdowns, young students who have had breakdowns. The number of people. When my documentary came out, at least 3 teachers, principals, independently called me after the documentary came out and said, "Thank you for doing what you did. Amazing documentary. But can you please speak to my student. He's a young black kid. He's had a breakdown as well. And, he's seen what you've done, and can you speak to him and kind of pull him out of it? And I couldn't do it at the time because I was just too raw. The whole fucking thing was it really left me really raw and exposed. I'm better now, but when it went out, the fucking whole world was like, knew my business. And it was tough because I'd walk down the street next day and people were, and I've always, as actors, we have this sort of veneer of unapproachability sometimes. People are a little bit, that's the guy from TV. Leave him alone, give him a wide berth. That's gone. People were like, Mr. Harewood, I just want to say thank you so much. My mom had a breakdown. My dad had a breakdown. My uncle, this happened to my brother. People were just coming up to me non-stop on the street, telling me that it happened to their moms, their dads, their brothers, their sisters. And it was painful because, you'd find yourself on the street sobbing with complete strangers. And what the documentary did, it seemed to give people license to talk about it. It gave people a language to talk about it. Whereas before, it's so taboo, no one talks about it, which I didn't realize. And that's one of the reasons why I did it, is that, people talk about anxiety, people talk about depression all the time. Nobody talks about psychosis because you lose your mind. The fucking men in the white coats come and take you away.
How do you know you've lost your mind?
It's hard, but it's when it comes to psychosis, it's normally preceded by a sort of mania, like a rushing, like a euphoria. You see people who've got, they're talking like 100 miles an hour, or they really, you see people on the tube and they're covered in colours, bright colours, and you can see that they're clearly not quite right. These are people on that, they've started to start lose their grip with reality. And what can happen is you get these delusions and you get hallucinations, thought disorders where your thoughts are jumbled, where you're talking 100 miles an hour, or you might think you can control the weather. You might think that you can speak to aliens from another planet. It's delusions and hallucinations. And I had them for months. And, the reason why a lot of people don't seek help is because sometimes it's actually quite exciting. It's like dopamine. It's like a rush of adrenaline and dopamine in your mind, and you're racing, and it's hard to spot. Your friends might spot it. Your friends might say, "It's a bit bizarre. The behavior is a bit bizarre today," But you might think, "I'm fucking great. I'm great. I'm having a great time. Do you know what? I've got this great idea to do." And you're suddenly writing plays. And I've got one guy who said to me, he wrote a whole play, because he was just buzzing out of his mind. And it is difficult to spot, but treatment has become better now. And if you've got friends or family and loved ones, the earlier they can get you help, the better. The earlier you acknowledge that there's a problem, the better. And I will say this to you, that had I had my breakdown in America, I would be dead. I would have been shot.
Why is that?
No fucking two ways about it. I had 7 policemen sitting on me, holding me down in the hospital, to give me what they call a rapid tranquilization, which was to sedate me and knock me out. I was screaming at the top of my voice and very distressed. And I was very lucky that my friends were with me, and were sort of pleading with everyone around that I just wasn't a crazy big black man, because the minute you lose it in out there on the street, particularly in America, if you're going a little bit,
you could be homeless or
yes. You see, it's what I think they've done really well in England. What they're starting to do is to separate the criminality from the mental health aspect of it. And I don't think they do that in the States. If you are, and I think there was one guy there a couple of years ago who was literally running down the middle of the street naked. They put a spit hood on him. We were laughing at him, and in the end, I think he died either by asphyxiation, or they just fucking shot him. So I think mental health is a huge subject in America. Black mental health is a huge subject in America, but I think it's a tricky one to broach. There's a lot of there's a lot of air around mental health, around Black mental health. We're starting to discuss that in England now, but I'm not sure it's a conversation that's where the mental health conversation has been really drilled into in the States.
Inside of You is sponsored by Charlie Bear of Got Pet Products. Charlie Bear is freaking amazing. My dog Blanche has these treats, these Charlie Bear treats, and she goes freaking bananas. This company also makes Hound and Gatos, Gatos, and this food, as you could see, my dog goes crazy for. And I always say, if you're going to give yourself a good meal, guys, these animals, I love animals more than people for the most part. This is my daughter, right? This is who I live with. I live alone. I have my dog Blanche, and I want her to live long, and I want her to eat healthy, and I want her to eat good food, good healthy treats. And you know what's awesome is my brother Adam Rosenbaum, works for this company, for Got Pet Products, and I love what he does. I'm proud of him. I think this is an amazing company, and I'm honored to be talking about him. Charlie Bear, let's talk about these wonderful treats. Natural dog treats from our family to your best friend. They're made in the USA, simple ingredients, natural ingredients, low calorie. Many Charlie Bear treats only have like 3 calories. It's amazing. Pocket friendly. They don't crumble in your pocket and make a mess. Don't you hate that? And you're like, I'll keep a little treat for the dog in my pocket. Oh, look at that. I have a handful of
Crumbs.
Wallet friendly, high value rewards. And most importantly, your dog's going to love them. Your dog's going to love them. Charlie Bear. Look for Charlie Bear products at your favorite neighborhood pet stores and online, or visit our website at www.charliebear.com for more information. And guys, that's Charlie Bear, CharlieBear. charliebear.com, www.charliebear.com. And you could also go to www.houndgatos.com. That's hound and then gatos.com. Wonderful, amazing food. I'm loaded up here, and this is what my doggie is going to have for the rest of her existence. Charlie Bear, Inside of You, is brought to you by Keeps. Ryan, you know that 2 of 3 men are going to experience some form of hair loss by the time they're 35 years old. And how old are you, Ryan?
I'm 33 years old.
Oh, more than 50 million men in the U.S. suffer from male pattern baldness. There are only 2 FDA-approved medications that can prevent hair loss. Keeps offers both. Did you hear that? 2 FDA-approved medications. Keeps offers both. They offer a simple, stress-free way to keep your hair. I got a couple friends who are going bald as well, and I'm like, dude, it doesn't have to be that difficult. Convenient virtual doctor consultations and medications delivered straight to your door every 3 months. You don't have to leave your home, and I don't want to leave my home. Low cost. Treatments start at $10 per month. Keeps offers generic versions, discreet packaging, and proven results. Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors. Prevention is key, folks. Treatments can take 4 to 6 months to see results, so you want to get going on this. You want to act fast. If you are ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/insideofyou to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's right, for free. That's Keeps, keeps.com/insideofyou to get your first month free. keeps.com/insideofyou. So you didn't go in on your own behalf. One of your friends said it's time. Like how did that happen? A friend of yours?
Yeah, they
intervention thing.
Started to get wind that something wasn't right, and friends started turning up at my door, and I was like, "Hey, great to see you guys!" And they'd come in and we'd speak, and I'd crash out for 4 hours and wake up and come back. Oh, you're still here? And they were like, fuck me, there's something's not right here. So it took them a long time to persuade me to go to the doctors. And then when I finally went, it didn't go particularly well. And the doctor was just a bit dismissive, really. And he gave us a bottle of tablets. But his dismissive manner kind of upset all of us. And I remember we all got back to the house, and I looked at the tablets and I went, guys, are we really what do we think about this? And And all of us sort of sat there and went, I think he was talking bollocks. And we threw him in the bin. And I, 3 weeks later, had a massive breakdown, massive psychological breakdown. Well, I just lost control of it. Lost control. I wasn't sleeping, and I was very hyper. But I was lucky that they came back to the house and found me and decided to try and drive me to Birmingham, which was where my mother lived. But on the way out of London, I started passing out, and they thought I was dying. So they drove me to a hospital where I collapsed and was put in a wheelchair, and then leapt out of this wheelchair and ran screaming around the hospital, screaming. I don't remember any of this, but I was screaming. And
you're not on anything. You're not on anything at this point. This is just the break.
Yeah.
And you're screaming around. Okay.
Very disturbed. Very, as I say, I have these voices in my head. I mean, it's a whole.
Right.
We'll do a whole program. It was extraordinary. When you hear voices in your head.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about whispers. I'm talking about full on baritone voice echoing around my head. And I'm like,
wow.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's Martin Luther King. David, I'm here to tell you, the next stage, I'm fucking hearing his voice in my head. And I'm like, he's telling me this whole fucking thing about this galactic, this fucking extraterrestrial fucking thing that he was telling me that the minute he was shot, it's such a crazy idea, but the minute he was shot, he said, the minute he died, reality became, he said, remember I did that speech, I Have a Dream? I said, yes. He says, well, I'm speaking to you now. Reality is my dream, and you are living in my dream. And I'm contacting various people around the world who tonight are going to sacrifice themselves and close the gap between good and evil and rid the world of poverty and illness and badness. It was huge.
Wow.
It was fucking huge. And I'm sobbing in my bedroom thinking, this is extraordinary. It can't be real. He said, yes, it's all real. And you have to get up, you have to walk to this place, walk to Camden, which was about an hour walk from where I lived. And I walked all the way to this place that he told me to walk to. And obviously it was fucking closed. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I was like, this isn't right. Something's wrong. And then he gets in my ear and he goes, David, you've got to be very careful. Things are really going wrong. And it was extraordinary.
Wow.
And that was the night it all went horribly wrong. And the following day I was sectioned and spent 5 days on a mental ward, being given 3 times the legal dose of tranquilizers, of sedatives. Now here's the other thing. You've got a big black man on your psych ward. You're terrified of him. What do? You knock him the fuck out. So I was given, and I've only found this 30 years later, and having given it to a psychotherapist to cast their eye over. She said, well, the first thing I'm going to say is you were given 3 times the legal doses of tranquilizers. And I have no idea why. And I said, well, they were trying to knock you out, she said. They were just literally trying to put you out. And you can imagine that, right?
It could have killed you.
Imagine that happening. Yeah. And people die. The reason why, and it's all in the documentary, but the reason why the loads of people were dying whilst being restrained by the police, and lots of people do die being restrained while they're being medicated, and being restrained while they're being arrested. So they're trying to take the criminality out of your mental health experience. So there's a whole section in the documentary where I speak to this new it's a new way of working in Birmingham, where I'm from, which is where rather than sending the police on mental health, if there's a mental health aspect, if someone's running down the street naked, the guy's obviously clearly not well. So rather than calling the police, you will call a special unit, which is made up of a mental health nurse, a social worker, a pediatrician, a policeman, and so it's more holistic.
Right.
So rather than the copper jumping out and bashing you over the head, it might be the mental health nurse that gets out and tries to talk to you, assess the situation, gets you on, and then they start working out what's the best way to treat this person, rather than putting him in fucking handcuffs, throwing him in the back of the police van, and locking him in a police cell for 4 hours, which is what happened to me.
Wow. What was it that sort of saved you in a way? Sort of what? Obviously, they had to get you on a certain medication, probably an antipsychotic or something, or what was it that was it just between therapy and getting you in the right meds and getting your head straight? I mean, how did that all work?
I have no idea. I was basically given a bottle of tablets, and the old gag, keep taking the tablets. I was released from my 5 days of institutionalized sort of medication, and just given a bottle of tablets, and very very quickly started spinning out of control again. Soon after that, my mother was great. My mother basically just took me back to her place. I left London, went back to my mum's place, and she observed me like a hawk for about a month, giving me half a tablet and giving me a quarter of a tablet and giving me, a little bite of a tablet,
right,
slowly weaning me off this medication. And I'm lucky that I think there's 15% of people 15% of psychotic patients who never need further medication, or never have further issues. And I guess I fall into that category because I've never really needed anything since that last quarter of a tablet.
Wow. Talk about intense. And by the way, the documentary again is My Psychosis and Me on the BBC, correct?
Mm-hmm. Psychosis and Me.
Psychosis and Me. I mean,
yeah.
Did you for a while think that why was I so open about this? This is going to ruin my career. Did you have those thoughts in the beginning? And then obviously it hasn't.
I got scared the night it went out. I mean, I'd watched it for a year because we shot it, and then the BBC didn't want to put it out until the following year because they wanted to put it out in a whole season on mental health films. And when I first saw the trailer, I was fucking terrified. I suddenly panicked, and I thought, why did I do that? I should never have done this.
Right.
And I didn't watch it. I was really scared. And the minute it finished, I went to bed, actually. I went to bed early. And the minute it finished, just every device in the house was pinging, ringing, buzzing, bleeping. And it was just emails and texts from people who'd seen it, who were just blown away by it. And blown away by what it was revealing. Because I meet other people who are suffering from psychosis, and I think we did more in an hour to reduce the stigma of psychosis than there has been in like 20 years.
Yeah,
because some people were talking about it, and calls about psychosis to the mental health charity Mind in England rose by 107% the next day. So people were suddenly going, do you know what? I think I've got a problem. Well, do you know what? I think my son's having a problem. Do you know what? I think now I know what it is. Now I know, I need to speak to somebody about it.
And now all the health officials in England are going, that fucking David Harewood, we're overwhelmed now. The fuck did he do? Don't show the documentary again. My God. So look, Supergirl, bad transition. However, it's a transition. Did you know anything about? Did you know anything about John Jones, Martian Manhunter, at all when you first got this? Because I don't even know anything really about him anyway. I mean, what did you do to prepare? They said you have an audition for this, or did you just get an offer for it, or?
No, I got an offer to play. I was originally just playing Hank Henshaw, just the guy who runs the DEO.
Right.
And I think Jeff Johns and Andrew Kreutzberg were watching the pilot being shot one day, and I think Jeff Johns said, "Fucking guy's great. He'd make a great Martian Manhunter." And they looked at each other and went, "Fucking do it." So they just they didn't tell me about it. They only told me after the pilot had finished. So once I was in England, and shooting a job in Morocco called The Night Manager. And my agent called me and said, yeah, they want to make you an offer on that Supergirl, but they want to change your character. I was like, what? They said, yeah, they want to make you somebody else. And I was like, well, who's that? And I emailed the bosses, and they were saying, well, it's very exciting, but we're not going to tell you until it's all, all the, crosses and dots and I, everything's signed off. And I flew to LA to shoot the pilot. And I think I got there 2 weeks early or something. And I phoned up and I said, guys, I need to know who the fuck I'm playing. So can I come and meet? Can I come in and meet you guys? So I went in to meet Andrew, and he just gave me this pile of comics and said, "You're going to be the Martian Manhunter." And
you said who?
I'd never heard of it. I read Marvel. I read the Hulk and Fantastic Four. I didn't read DC. I wasn't a DC.
I never read anything. I think I was Lex Luthor. I never read one comic book. I didn't know. I just said, fuck it. I know where you're coming from.
All over comics. But I didn't know the story. So I went home and read The Martian Manhunter. Fucking loved it. Loved it. I just thought he was great character. So, it's been fun. It's been slightly, they can't quite afford, he's one of the strongest, most capable characters in the DC canon, but they just can't afford to do his powers. So it's like I'm playing him on a budget, basically. So I'm like, it's been like sometimes I get my butt kicked. I'm like, how the fuck is this guy beating me up? Oftentimes I've had to sort of, just create a kind of whole new iteration of the character because it doesn't quite match, with this sort of all-powerful, fantastically capable character that's in the comic books. It's not my show. I can't save the day.
Right.
So it's Supergirl's show. She has to save the day. So a lot of the times I have to sort of, I sussed it in the very first season. Just before the finale, I'll get taken out. I'll get taken out by some radiation fucking beam from space that knocks me out, that I can't save the day. And it happens it happened in every finale. I was literally, the episode before the finale, I'd get some fucking alien stone placed around my neck, which disabled me for the entire episode of the finale.
What have you not done as that character that fans are like, well, he could do this. Why isn't he doing that?
We can read minds. He can teleport. I mean, there's a whole list of them out there online. But
right.
He's an extremely capable character, but unfortunately, we just can't afford it. So it's been like playing him on a bit of a budget.
Is it weird being in the final season of a show that when someone, I don't know if anybody's ever said, this is your final season. No one's ever told me that. So you never know. But as an actor, is it harder to go in there and have something to really, want to, or do you just suck it up? And how does that work?
I'm ready to check out. I've got to be honest. I'm ready to move on. So it was quite a relief when they said it's the final season. I was okay with that.
Okay.
I'm kind of okay. I'm okay with going home. I'm okay with being around my family. I took the job for a specific reason, and those reasons have been that box has been ticked. It's I've got some money in the bank, which has been great. Cemented my my sort of position as an actor in the American sort of world.
And you got more fans. You got a shitload of fans now. You got a shitload of fans that love Martian Manhunter.
Shitload of fans. It's been great. So but I'm ready to. I'm ready to move on now. It's like doing panto for like 17 years. At some point you want to move on.
Yeah.
And do another genre.
Yeah. All right. This is called Shit Talking with David Harewood. This is rapid fire. These are from fans on my Patreon, lovely Patreon. Go to patreon.com/inside. Mary B, if there were really extraterrestrials, do you think they would be friendly or hostile? On Supergirl, you have a mix of both on Supergirl.
I think there'd be a mix of both.
Mike E, how was it to play Martian Manhunter opposite two Justice League voice veterans and one who voiced Martian Manhunter in the animated series?
Awesome. Carl Lumbly.
Love Lumley. I worked with him.
Absolutely brilliant. And I love the pair of them. It was a real pleasure being on set.
Taylor K, David, is there anything in your career that a producer or director wanted you to do that you weren't comfortable with?
Not really, no. I tend to throw myself in.
Sophie M, do you have a favorite guest star who has appeared on Supergirl?
Carl Lumbly.
Wasn't he the best? I worked with him on Justice League, and I love him. I just had him on the podcast. Amazing.
He's a lovely man, a genuinely lovely man. I miss him.
I agree. Connor W, I have a lot of respect for your charity work, including Soccer Aid. My question is, what was the episode in Supergirl that made you most nervous going in?
Made me most nervous?
Did you have to get naked or something?
I've never been naked. There's no nudity in Supergirl. I would say just some of the emotional stuff. Some of the emotional stuff when he talks about his family. That because that takes you to a dark place. It always takes you to you always have to pull on some pretty emotional strings when you start talking about the loss of his family, and sometimes they were tough to do.
Olga C, what character did you view totally different as a child versus as an adult?
The Hulk. For me, it was always the Hulk was always smash Hulk, and I loved it. The big green man, I loved it. But I guess as I've grown older, and I love how Marvel have, made him more of a thinking beast, as it were. I like that. That's a good change.
Well, look, I really love how open you are. It's certainly going to touch a lot of people, and you've already touched a lot of people with your mental health ambassadorship. I'm going to make that word up. You like that? Ambassadorship?
I like that.
I don't think it's a word, but you were awesome on Homeland, and you worked with my friend Morena Baccarin. Did you have scenes with her ever?
Yes, I did. Yes, lots of scenes. She's great. She's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I had more to do with her, but yeah, she's a great girl.
Well, what's your handles so people can follow you?
Just at David Harewood, all there, all one word. My name, David, DavidHarewood.
Well, this has been a real treat. I really appreciate you being on here. I hope you had fun. It wasn't bad, right?
Oh yeah, it's great. I mean, I loved I love your style. It's been fun.
It has been fun. I hope you come back, and good luck. Continue success with everything. Get your COVID test. All my health and happiness to you, buddy.
Thanks, man.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, you try not to poke or try to, but I always want to go deeper. Like, well, but why is that? Well, what did you, I'm always trying to figure out like how it happens. And he painted the picture pretty good, pretty well.
Yeah. He's really been through it.
He's been through it. And I think when you're through it and you can address that you've been through it, I think it just makes you stronger. It really does. They always say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And
yeah,
I mean, to be so honest too, I know a lot of people, if they had any kind of break, first of all, would never go get checked in, would never agree to anything. Or if they did, they would not let anyone ever know. They'd feel shame. And I don't know how many times I've told you guys that the only way, we're going to ever really love ourselves and love others, at least for me, is if you start to acknowledge who you really are and be honest to yourself and take care of yourself. So anyway, yeah, that hit me. That hit me pretty strong. Remembering the concert, our concert is this Saturday, May 29th. It's online. You can watch it. Please watch it. If you haven't watched us, Sunspin, 2 shows, 2 p.m., 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. There's prizes, there's Zooms, there's, it's going to be a lot of fun. In fact, the top bidder gets an encore. We Zoom them with an encore if they want, with a couple songs.
Oh, nice.
So it'll be nice. And you can go to sunspin.com for all the information, book the band, book a Zoom with us, anything you want. We'll have fun. We always have fun. And if you want any Inside of You merch, go to Inside of You online store. There's tons of great stuff. Let's give a discount code for today. How about Ryan's Vaxxed 15?
How many X's?
Ryan's Vaxxed, no apostrophe, 1X. Ryan's Vaxxed 15 for for 15% off the Inside You online store. Lex Luthor pictures in Smallville and Inside You mugs and shirts and a bunch of great stuff. I have some fanny packs left. I think I only have like two, maybe 1 or 2 fanny packs.
Oh.
So get them while they last. Autographed tumblers, autographed hats, whatever you want. It's all there at the Inside You online store. And Ryan, again, if they want to subscribe to the show.
You go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or you go to youtube.com/Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. You can go to Twitter at Inside of You Pod, Instagram at Inside of You Podcast, and Facebook also at Inside of You Podcast.
That is correct. That is correct. My lovely patrons. I was reading a lot of great, funny comments. People always have their opinions, and I like their opinions, and they have like ideas, and sometimes their ideas are really good for guests. I actually have gotten quite a few guests based on people's opinions or suggestions. Isn't that something?
Ooh, that's helpful.
Yeah, if you're a patron, I listen to you. I don't always listen to you. It's impossible to listen to all of you.
There's a lot of you.
There's a lot of you, and I love you all. In fact, we're going to name you all right now, and then we're going to give it up for the big surprise. So here it is. These are all the patrons. Bear with me. It's only a few minutes, but I love them all, and they contribute to the show. If you want to join Patreon, patreon.com/inside of you. Nancy D, Mary B, Leah S, Trisha F, Sarah V, Little Lisa, Yukiko, Jill E, Brian H, Lauren G, Nico P, Robin S, Jerry W, Robert B, Jason W, Apothean, Kristen K, Amelia O, Allison L, Lucas M, Raj,
See?
Joshua D, Emily S, CJ P, Samantha M, Jennifer N, Jackie P, Stacy L, Carly H, Carly S, Jen S, Jamal F, Janelle B, Carrie B, Tabitha 272, not to be confused with
Tabitha 273.
Ashley Ryan, Kimberly E, Mike E, Marissa
N.
Eldon Supremo, 99 more, Ramira, Santiago M, Sarah F, Chad W, Leanne P, Ray A, Maya P, Maddie S, Kendrick F, Ashley F, Shannon D, Matt W. They're all right here. They're right here on the screen. You can see them and you hear them. Ashley E, Shannon D, Matt W, Belinda N, Kevin V, James R, Chris H, Dave H, Samantha S, Spider-Man,
Chase,
Sheila
G,
Ray,
8,
Tabitha,
T,
Tom,
N,
Suzanne,
B,
Katie,
F.
How are you doing this?
I'm remembering from last time.
Liliana
As S,
A, Michelle K, Marcus W, Hannah B, Michael S, Talia M, Luke H, Andrew
C,
T, Betsy
Ross
D,
Oh.
not Betsy Ross,
Okay.
Claire M, she didn't do the flag. Liz J, Laura L, we're almost done here. Chad L, Rochelle E, Nathan E, Brandel D, Taylor K, Neil A, Marion, Meg K, Janelle P, Trav L, Dan N, Jennifer J, Wayne M, Diane R, Ojeda, Lorraine G, Olga C, Corey M, Carrie H, Veronica K, Big Stevie W, Kendall T, Lindsay M, Carol D, Katie G, Sandy B, Angel M, Eric C, Rhiannon C, Stephen M, Corey K, Super Sam, Emily C, Sherry S, Coleman G, Michelle A, Riley J, Liz L, and Jeremy C. Those are the patrons, the wonderful patrons. And now for the surprise you've all been waiting for this entire time. Ryan is vaxxed. We've been dying to do this. It's been a year. I'm vaxxed, and we're going to hug it out. Feels good. That felt good. That felt good. I smell good?
It's nice.
Thanks, man. It's Burberry Brit I wear.
Oh.
Yeah. That felt good. My old friend Ryan, I got to hug him.
Oh, thank
We've
God.
been waiting over a year for that. That's your
Christ.
surprise. You're like, that's the surprise? Come here, Blanche. Say hello to everybody. Come here.
Oh, my God.
Come here. Come here. No.
No.
Get over here. Come here. Come here. Right here. Yes, you're a little good girl. A little good girl right there. People don't want to hear this. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all the support and love and dedication to the show. Spread the word. I know you do. I see your tweets. I see your messages. You're so damn awesome. So thank you. Thank you. And thank you, listeners, if you're here for David Harewood. And hopefully you'll stick around for the next one. From myself, Michael Rosenbaum, and
myself, Ryan Tejas.
Here in the Hollywood Hills.
Hollywood Hills, California.
Let's take a look up at the camera, give a wave to the camera up there. Hey, guys, we love you. Thank you for allowing to be in. Let me thank you for allowing me to be inside of each and every one of you. Till next time, promise me you'll be good to yourself. Be grateful. Life's good, man. We're here. Let's try to make the most of it. That's my dog.
You agree.
Blanche. She agrees. All right, Blanche. Now beat it. All right. Love you guys. Thanks.